on the computer. Are you standing?
I am.
I love the energy of the
Yeah,
standing thing.
I noticed that I feel more present when I'm standing. I don't know.
And I feel more settled when I'm sitting.
Yeah.
And I need to feel settled on this end of it, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Yeah, if I'm scattered, the whole thing just falls apart.
Yeah. I could tell that you have your ducks in order.
Well, I give out the Google form that is the guest survey, and that gets me the information that I need. And I print them all out, but I find that when I'm conducting a conversation on the podcast that I'm not comfortable with the way it appears on the form. And the form's as good as I can get it to be, but
Yeah.
I literally copy and paste onto, I create my own research
Mm,
conversation sheets that go
amazing.
with the flow of how the interview is going to
Great.
go.
Great.
Um, and I that's the hub.
Great.
It's part of my prep process. I don't know. Again,
I like it.
I'm only a couple dozen interviews into this whole thing, so
Honestly,
I'm working out my
I didn't do
process.
it myself. I wouldn't understand it, but I do see exactly what you're doing, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to figure out how to do is organize my appointment calendar, because I have it in a little book, but I don't always have the book with me. And then
Mm.
I look at an email and somebody needs to move an appointment, and I'm like,
Are you in Google Docs?
I am.
Yeah, saying, does that help you at all or not?
Oh, maybe. And
Yeah,
then I could
I'm
share it
finding myself pretty organized with
and
that.
then block out when
Yeah,
I'm willing to do podcasts. Yeah, I have to look
yeah,
into that.
yeah.
Very brilliant idea. See, you got to talk about these things.
Yeah, that's what we have to do
Trapped in my head,
together.
I could make a tiny little problem into something huge. All right. Add a little water to my tea. Ready?
I sure am. I'm so excited. It's my favorite conversation.
Okay. Well, I hope so. This is what you do. Okay. Hello and welcome to Permission to Heal. I am so glad you're here. I am Marcy Brockman, and I am here today talking with Sari Dana. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. Sari is positively inspired to create change with helping others to learn to love their bodies, access their inner happiness by using positive affirmations, and educating on ending diet culture. Her mission is to help girls, teens, and women recognize that diet culture is all around us, and we have the power to recognize it and unlearn all the negative messages that keep women and girls feeling less than and never enough. It bothers her that we live in a society of perfectionism and a social media culture that promotes diet culture and the idea that we are never enough. She loves teaching about intuitive eating too. Dieting has been one of the most detrimental sicknesses in America, and she wants to change it and help us all develop a healthy relationship with our own bodies and food by teaching us the power of our own minds. She teaches in schools, organizations, live events, birthday groups, and private sessions. Sari's 8-week Body Love Recipe course is interactive and online, and so are her intenSati positive affirmation fitness classes. She helps women learn to love their bodies and access their inner happiness by using positive affirmations and education in ending diet culture. And if you are like me, listener, you need this. Welcome, Sari. I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you so much, Marcy. As you were reading that, I was like, wow, is that really me?
That's you.
Did I do all that?
Everything that I know about you, that's you.
It's something that I've always dreamed of doing, and it really feels great to actually be doing the action of it and
That's
actually
awesome.
see lives being changed. So as you're reading it, I was just like closing my eyes, and I'm like, those are real soothing words.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, how did you get into this?
Yeah, this is such an interesting conversation because I think about it actually all the time. I have been in the fitness world, in the body perfection world, in leaner, stronger, fitter, thinner world, in restrictive eating, as much as you can, eliminate this and eliminate that for many, many years. I started, I would say, 1991 teaching fitness classes and in that world.
Wow.
It's been a long time, like 30 years. But towards the end, I would say about somewhat recent, I would say about 6 years ago, things just didn't seem right to me anymore. Things didn't seem like this is the way health should be. We're
Right.
all there for health. We all want to get healthier. We all want to be fitter and stronger. But I wasn't seeing a synchronicity with it. I was
Right.
seeing that things were taken into extreme. Girls were looking, that were showing me their very, very thin bodies and asking me, how can they get thinner? How could they make their thighs have a thigh gap? Things like that.
That are just unrealistic. I mean, not
And
everybody's bodies are built that way.
yeah. And I would notice that in the back of the class, there was always like, the girl who didn't have that body type in the back, shy, or I couldn't come to class until she fits that ideal. And with myself, I started realizing, you know what? I'm not in a healthy space.
Right.
And the part that really got me, and this is really the it thing, is that I was really trying to eat as healthy as I could, the way most people do. But the healthier I was trying to be, the more I began to binge eat.
Okay. I can see that
And that
relationship
was
in my own life, actually.
and that was it. And I was like, wait, why am I binge eating? What is going on? I thought something was so wrong with me. Even though through all those years of trying and fixing and doing, nothing was ever enough. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why can't I be happy with my body? Why can't I enjoy my food? Why is there so much drama with food and body? It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Literally one day, I said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm ready to get fat. That's what I thought. Honestly, honestly.
Because if you let go of the reins, that's the only thing that could happen.
Yeah, that's the only thing that will happen. If I let go, I will become fat. At that time, I started to read a lot of books about not necessarily bodies or food, but just about acceptance of people, acceptance of yourself, opening up your heart, living life with kindness and compassion. And I was always that type of person, but I started to see it in a different light.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? What if I could show that same kindness to myself?
Right.
What if I could show that same compassion to myself? What if however I would look would just be fine because that's not really my worth? So I started to value myself that wasn't only about my looks, which was very different in my world.
Yeah.
My world didn't really come from that.
To go from fitness classes of perfectionism to that is a 180-degree shift.
Yeah. So while I was getting healed and I was getting to a really happy spot, my whole following like left, gone. Like
Right.
I'm like, where'd everybody go? And I would have like 100 people in my class that dwindled to one, two, and three.
Wow.
And it was like,
They
wow,
they couldn't do the shift with you.
no. And if I have to go back, I probably should have been a little bit more gentle about it.
Right.
But I was so drastic. I was the type of person when I find something and that I find it to be my truth, I need to scream it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
There's just like no other way about it. So, following kind of left, I still knew they loved me and I loved them.
Wait, we're losing
Yeah.
service a little bit.
Okay, hold on. Let me replug a little bit. How's that?
It's okay. The internet just blundered a bit and I was losing what you were saying and I don't want to miss a single syllable. So,
So I knew my following loved me, but I knew as well that I needed this space and they maybe needed it too. We weren't on the same wave at that point.
right.
And I just said, that's it. I will be fat. I will be healthy. I will be healed. And that will be my life. And time went on, and I started to eat what I wanted and how I wanted it. I started to eat foods that I've never eaten in my life for the first time. Basic food like a tuna fish sandwich. You
You
know,
hadn't eaten a tuna fish sandwich before?
I mean, probably not, because I remember that was a big thing. Like I said, I just want to eat tuna fish with mayonnaise and white bread. And I don't
So you
want,
would have
oh,
tuna, but without mayo and without bread.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to I just want to eat it like the way I want to eat it.
Right.
Things like that. I started to like taste foods for the first time and I was like, wow, this is such a different feeling. And as time went on, I did not get fat. And that was another huge aha moment for me. I was
Right.
like, wait. This whole time of my life, I've been focusing on not being fat, restricting calories, working really hard in my fitness. And here I am still exercising daily because that's who I am. Decided to love my body in any way or form. I'm really happy. I'm eating actually healthier because I'm no longer binge eating. I
Right.
I think I got something here.
The binge eating comes from stress. And so I think when we try to micromanage every little calorie that goes in our mouths, it causes such stress that when we see mass quantities of something we love, we just suck it down.
Actually, Marcy, while stress does play a role in how much we eat, it mostly comes from literally not eating enough for our bodies. And I know people say, what do you mean? I eat all day. That's not true.
Not enough calories.
Sometimes it's not only not enough calories, but it's not enough of food that we love.
Okay.
Oftentimes we lose the permission to eat, permission to heal. We
Right.
lose the permission. So it goes hand in hand. We lose the permission to say, this is what I want, and this is how I want it, and this is what's going to satisfy me without the voices in the head, without the starey looks of judgmental from other people in our lives that sometimes look at us and are like, oh, you're eating that?
Right.
So taking all the noise away actually helps us become full, tap back into our hunger and fullness cues, our desires, and things simply fall in place. It's hard to let go of that, but once you get into it, it's a practice, and it really works for great physical, healthy, mental, and emotional well-being. It's really nice.
It's amazing.
You
I
get
have been victim of this diet culture thing forever,
yes,
you know, and I'm also an emotional eater. I
yes.
just am. So when I get stressed, I want a snack. I need some sort of, even it's mindless because I don't even know that I'm eating it half the time. But, um, and since menopause and my hysterectomy, things just don't bounce back the way they used to. I'm 52 and things are how they are. But I started working with a dietitian and we did blood tests to the whole leap, whatever it was called. And they did like 150 blood tests to find out my body's inflammatory response to 2 pages of different foods. So I have clinical results that prove or that demonstrate what foods my body likes and reacts well to and what things I have to avoid. And I've been doing that as much as the pandemic will let me do since last January. And by and large, I've gotten rid of gastrointestinal issues and bloating and all that sort of thing. I've gotten rid of headaches that I used to have from having too much sugar. And I know, like, all right, if I'm going to eat this ice cream before bed, I'm going to wake up with a headache tomorrow, but I want the ice cream. So damn it, whatever. I'll take Advil in the morning. But because I haven't been moving and I've stopped exercising and I'm a couch potato, the weight has just come back. And I wrestle with myself, like almost on an hourly basis. Like I'm totally fine with it. I'm totally accepting. Everything's great. And then I go look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, no. But then the next 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. I'm 52. This is what I look like. My husband still loves me. All's good in the world. So I don't kind of know where I am.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely hear that. And I think even the healthiest minded people think that same way. Our bodies do change over time, and that's something we really do need to accept. I'm in my 50s as well, and I go through that as well. You know what?
It is what it is.
This is what happens. Our bodies change. And I
I'm
think it's
not going to look like I did when I was 35.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great conversation to have with our kids from when they're young,
Hmm.
that they could already know that the same way they're going through puberty and they're changing, and then they're going through adulthood and changing, they're always going to change. And that's why the whole body perfection, talking about it, is always so detrimental because we believe that our bodies don't change. But here you are literally talking to yourself and saying, my body is changing. It's something I do need to accept. And some days, it's this way or that way. One of the conversations that I love so much is body respect,
Mhm.
because it gives a way to say, I respect my body at all sizes, at all shapes, in all ways. I give my body the respect that it deserves. It sends me out into the world. It allows me to hug. It allows me to love. It allows me to use my bodies in more ways than ever imaginable.
I
And
created life and I love with
exactly,
this body and I learn with this body and I create art with this body and
yeah,
yeah,
sometimes I like
totally.
to interchange the word love for respect, because
Right.
sometimes love just seems like too big of a leap. But respect, I think we could all relate to that a little bit more.
Yeah. That is easier, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think that what you've been doing is great because you put in a level of awareness that then that is exactly what intuitive eating is that you're becoming aware of what feels good in your body.
Right.
And here you just said, you know what, if you eat ice cream, you're going to wake up with a headache. So that's definitely not something
And
that
sometimes I'm willing to trade that
yeah,
off because the ice cream's so good. I mean, it's non-dairy ice cream. I can't do any dairy anymore. A little
you
bit
know
of
what
cheese,
your body
but
needs.
not much. I just can't. So, so as long as you sort of touched on it,
Yeah.
what is intuitive eating?
Oh, it's such a great conversation. So intuitive eating an amazing way to get back in touch with yourself and how your body feels in relationship to food. Decades and decades we've been told pretty much what to eat and how to eat it, even if it's subliminal, even if it's in the back of our mind, oh, this is unhealthy, this is healthy, this is good for you. But most of the foods that are right now in our marketplace is a result from marketing.
Right.
We're all in love with kale because it's been marketed that way. Yes, it's healthy. Yes, I love kale juice and I
I don't
drink
like kale at
smoothies.
all.
I love smoothies all the time. But the
Oh, I
point,
could bury it in a smoothie,
yeah,
but
very
don't
good
make, but
smoothie.
the one time I tried to make kale like a vegetable with dinner, I immediately threw it out. I just couldn't eat it.
I've tried it in a salad, chopped up really small with cranberries and nuts. Is that your style?
Could be, could be.
I like it that way, chopped up really small. And oh, you're making me want to eat it. Now I have to go ahead and buy it again. Forgot about it for a while. It's always good to have these reminders.
Sure.
Yeah, so intuitive eating really takes us back to our initial body trust that we were born with. That was a gift of God's. We were already known from birth when we're hungry. We call that out by crying. We
Right.
already know from birth when we're full, and we do that by a baby turning his head or fussing when not wanting any more food anymore. And over time, we've lost that touch. And now when we see food that's off limits, we're trained to hoard it, and
Right.
because we feel like we're never going to have it again, and we're forgetting that we can be in touch with ourselves, but it does take a level of mindfulness and awareness. And right now, going through these years, getting back in touch with an awareness of what feels good to our bodies, that our bodies really, really do know. And it's something that I've been practicing by accident. The story that I told you, that when
Sure.
I went back and I said, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and become fat. So that eating whatever I wanted was intuitive eating without ever knowing the term. I realized the term later
Sure.
on as it became really popular in the intuitive eating book, which is a really nice book if anybody would like to read it. Um, but it's a really nice way to level down, get in touch, bring back mindfulness of what is it that you want, instead of going with, I'm supposed to have 4 ounces of this or half a cup of that or portions. I think everyone is so tired of that. Like we had enough. We want to get rid of it.
Yeah, I was on a diet about 2 years ago that I had to go buy a food scale. And I was literally like weighing how many ounces of broiled salmon I could eat and how many grains of rice I could. It was ridiculous. And sure, I lost 8 pounds in the 2 weeks, but I wanted to wring my neck. I started to see food as the enemy. Like if I could only get away with not being hungry and not have to deal with food at all, life would be perfect. And that I realized that's just a sickness, you know. There was a portion.
So good you realize that.
Oh my God, there was a portion of time when I was going through my divorce in 2006, 2000, really 2006. And I felt like the only thing I could control in my life was what I ate. And so I was like a military general controlling everything that I ate. It was 1,400 calories a day. I was like exercising almost nonstop, imagining like every squat I did was taking away from the calories I ate so that I would have a calorie deficit that day. And I started again, I had this habit that was 10 years before. I started seeing food as an enemy. And then I would eat something and I caught myself sticking my fingers down my throat and forcing myself to throw up what I had eaten. And I only did it like 2 or 3 times before I went, wait a minute, this is how bulimia starts. What are you doing? This is dreadful. Stop doing this. You enjoyed what you ate. You're a little full now. Be mindful of the feeling and don't get this full again, but stop making yourself throw up. And I never did it again, but it scared the crap out of me.
Marcy, wow, wow, wow. I am so glad you shared that. I'm like still taking it in.
It was difficult. I really felt like the only thing I could control was my food and my body. And so I was militaristically controlling it. In my mind, it was Marcy boot camp that summer. And yeah, I don't think I ever looked better, but I didn't feel healthy, even though I was fit. It just didn't, no.
Yeah, and you're touching upon so many topics. One of them is how diets is disordered eating. It is.
Yeah,
It's 100% disordered. It's not normal eating. It's 100% disordered. And over time, it is a conduit to eating disorders.
right.
So this is really a conversation that I love to bring out for the kids and the teens. Don't start the diet because it can get overboard. When you think of things in terms of the calorie burn and how to eat less and how to burn more calories, so at the end of the day, the total amount is less, is something that really calculates in the brain. And it's so easy to get on that train. And unfortunately, so many that are on it, it's really hard to get off. So you were amazing how you took notice and you're like, this is not right. I don't know if you could see, but behind me, I have a big sign. Do you see that? It
Yeah.
says, it says eating disorders begin with disordered eating. So the way you said it, like just really summed it up. So whoever's listening, don't start a diet. There are other ways to be healthy, and dieting is not healthy by any means. By
No,
any
I mean, I wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich this afternoon for lunch. It was comfortable. It was freezing and snowing outside. I made myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but I had the jam that I figured out from the nutritionist my body likes. So, it was organic cherry and it was good
Yum and yum. That
and
sounds so
delicious.
good.
It was
It sounds
delicious.
so good. So good. I love it. I love it. So
I
yeah.
might have hot cocoa later or something, but so what? It's cold and that's
And your
fine.
body knows. Your body will tell you if you have too much sugar. It really does. Your body
Yeah.
will say, I feel headachy or I just don't feel right. And then your body the next day will gravitate more towards fruit or vegetables. It just really works in that cycle. And
Yeah.
I think letting go of the controlling of the food allows us to leap forward into saying, you know what? I can figure this out.
Yeah, the part of it that gets to me though is the portion control when I'm feeling anxious because I want to eat more because it does in the moment give me immediate comfort. It is immediate gratification. So
Yeah.
whatever it is that I'm eating, and it could be dinner that I'm having a
Mhm.
larger portion of. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bowl of ice cream or chips or
Of
something.
course.
I really like sweet
So
more than
a
salty
couple of
anyway, but
things that I love to talk about because people really are definitely have issues with emotional eating. Number one is first go through options that have nothing to do with food. For me, it's always take a shower. Like I already know that I come
really,
home. Yeah, that's for me. When I come home after a long day, and presently I'm not working outside my home, I'm working inside my home. Like at the end of the day, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I shower, I wash the day away, I de stress. Water is therapy.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really therapy. I feel good. Sometimes I take a hot bath. I probably take a hot bath around 4 times a week. That's for me. I already know that it works.
Okay.
At that point, I'm able to see things differently. So my emotions had already calmed, they already simmered, they already relaxed. So I'm not going into the food, with that tiger feeling. It took me a
Right.
while to learn this, and everyone has their own self-care point that
Right.
they can tap into. For some people, it's walking around the block. For some people, it could be, just sitting alone. For me, it's alone time, but I have some clients actually, it's just the opposite. She
Right.
needs to go walking with her friends. She wants to be yapping on the phone. That's what she loves and enjoys it.
Hmm.
I'm like, really? That's what you like? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. But I think that we should first take the emotions, in a calmer way, breathing. It's so important. And I know you said you haven't been exercising so much because of pandemic. I'm going to get you on my Zoom class. I'm
I
getting you on.
subscribed to this yoga app thing that I read about on Instagram, and I was so excited. And I, it was going to be my new turning over a new
Yes,
leaf thing because I could do 20 minutes of yoga a day. I mean, that's what's 20 minutes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm playing this little puzzle game on my phone, and I was so excited that what was it, January 17th, I hit 1,000 day streak. If I can play this stupid game on my phone for 1,000 days in
I
a
didn't know
row,
where you were going with this. Yeah.
then
You could do
why
anything.
can't I do something else for 5, 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes a day?
Yeah.
I could do this stupid game for 1,000 days. Why can't I do
Yeah.
yoga or Pilates or, meditate or all of the above? Like
And you can.
I know I can. I just do not schedule the time in.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it's all, as you know, as we all know, it's all about scheduling and sticking to your word and making it small enough that it's attainable enough.
Right.
Small enough, whatever it is, 10 minutes jumping jacks, up and down your staircase if you have stairs in your house.
Yeah.
And make it that it becomes routine, because motion equals emotion, which ultimately will lead to the emotions of the eating. So these things, when it becomes daily habits, they truly, truly help with our self-care and our, not only our physical body, obviously, but our emotions.
Sure.
We're able to deal with things differently when we feel better in our bodies. I'm a huge advocate for exercise.
Absolutely.
Any sort of, any kind. And which leads me into what intenSati is, because I know that
Oh
you
yeah,
probably have no
absolutely.
idea
We're
what
going to
that
get
is.
that to that next. intenSati
How
positive
funny.
affirmation fitness classes.
No, because you
Absolutely.
said fitness, and I'm like, this is just a perfect conduit, because I would love for people to know. First of all fitness is good fitness, any type of movement, joyful movement, it's all great to lift up your energy. But because I love positive affirmation so much, I somehow tapped into this wonderful, wonderful class called intenSati that I've been a verified teacher for over 10 years now, and been using it for myself in my own healing. And that's why I use this to help others. So, what we do here is we take a set of affirmations that I would give you. Let's see if I could give you one now. Hmm. Let's see. I didn't prepare one, but I'm going to think about it. Oh, I have one right behind my wall. I am powerful beyond measure. I am stronger than I seem. I am braver than I think, and I am blessed with all I need. Four
Wow.
affirmations. Yeah, the affirmations in itself is beautiful and strong and empowering. And then we put those exact words to moves, such as punches, such as lift ups, such as rolling palms, such as coming down, coming up, such as movement from the heart, pushing out. And we say the words. I lead the class, so I say it and the students recite right after me as we're doing it. So I am powerful beyond measure. I am stronger than I seem. I am braver than I think. I am blessed with all I need. And as we do that, from the outside, it might look silly.
Not
And
at all. I'm actually just watching you do this. Listeners, we're doing this on Zoom, so I'm watching her move her arms and do this. And it's the most uplifting thing. I'm uplifted just watching you do it, let alone having done it myself.
Marcy, I'm telling you now, imagine doing this for 50 minutes.
Wow. You do different affirmations, not the same one over and
Yeah,
over.
different. Every class it's a different set of four. And I link it that we'll use, let's say it's okay, now that we're talking about it, I'll tell you the whole thing. So every month I teach a new series. It's four affirmations each week, and then we link them all together. So
Okay.
by the end, it becomes this great, beautiful story. This month, it's all about body gratitude. So the affirmations are about gratitude for our bodies. And it's really amazing. So, what I wanted to bring out is one thing that you're watching it, and I know that you said even those few minutes you felt uplifted,
Yeah.
but reciting these affirmations while doing exercise, while your endorphins are high up in the sky, it creates this magical effect in your brain that you walk out feeling that
Like
you are on
underwater.
sky high emotions of positive energy. There is
Right.
nothing that can get you down.
That's awesome.
And I teach this every week. And the beautiful part is that I actually practice this. So besides my teaching, so I do this for myself every single day, even if it's 5, 10, or 15 minutes, because I want that positive energy. I want that feeling of feeling good because you make decisions better. Your whole outlook on life is
Absolutely.
better. Everything is just better when you feel good about yourself. So it's very empowering. So that's fitness. I am powerful beyond measure.
Wow. Wow. So it isn't about 50 minutes on my rowing machine, torturing myself and hating every second of it. That's
Yeah,
not
you
the right
definitely want
thing.
to have fun. You want to have fun with your fitness. I'm a believer of that.
That's cool. Wow. That's food for thought for sure.
Definitely. And when I originally started to teach this, it does, like I said, it could look weird from the outside, like affirmations. I'm speaking affirmations. What? But when you do it, it feels so empowering that you know what you say like, oh heck, I'm just gonna do this. This feels so good.
Yeah, I would imagine so, especially with a group of people and you're all doing it together. The energy is cumulative and
Yes,
contagious is the word I was.
it sure is.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about your 8-week body love recipe course?
Oh, absolutely. So over pandemic, I said I need to do something that I've always wanted to do right now, when it was locked down in March.
Hmm.
And I just woke up every single day and I'm like, I am writing a course. I want people to learn how to love their bodies. And I just started writing and writing and writing. And, before I knew it, I had 150 pages, and I'm like, this is just so amazing. I'm so excited. And I broke it down so people can find tangible ways and tools to come in from beginning to end and walk out with all the tools they need for self care, to love their bodies, to speak kindly to themselves, to understand what diet culture is, how it is harming them, and how they can get out of it. And while it's amazing for someone who's in the throes of diet culture or emotional eating, it's also amazing for someone who wants to learn. If they're a mom and they want to bring up their teens in a great way,
Yeah,
understand,
that's
the words
important.
that they should say. So this is anyone who wants to put in more positive vibes about body love. It's interactive. So I get on a Zoom call with them every single week for those 8 weeks. And I give them self work to do, things for them to think about. And we come back and share. And it's easy education and tangible bites that they can use directly that day. And
Mhm.
that's the way I wanted it to be. That's something that they can use. I feel like body love is such a floaty word,
Sure.
like what is body love exactly? I wanted to give people something that they can take home. And that's my 8 week course. And the nice part is that it's always moving. So anyone could join at any time.
So it's asynchronous. You can do it as you
You come
please.
you come in, and there'll be people coming in and people coming out, and it flows really, really nicely.
And so all of this is what accessed through your website, Sari
Yep,
Dana, New York
yep,
City,
or yep,
NYC.
yeah, my Instagram. Well, I'm so reachable. Zen
Yeah.
Sari, but they can look on my website. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to link all of this and so on into the show notes underneath.
Yes.
Underneath.
Yes. And I'm
So-
currently writing my book. So I hope we'll have another podcast. One of my book is in completion.
oh, absolutely. I saw
It's
pictures on
really
your
amazing.
Instagram of you sitting on the beach and you were writing, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so jealous. She looks
Oh,
so
me
warm."
too. Me too. I told my husband that I go, Eddie, I need to go away for a month. I'm not saying this is happening, this is in my dreams,
Right.
to write my book. Because it is the most special, magical place to write when you're by the sea and you're by
Sure.
the beach in the warmth. Something about it opens up your soul. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yet for me, it's the beach. I don't even care what season it is. I actually prefer it when there aren't people around.
Me
So
too.
I go to like Sunken Meadow Beach here. I mean, not in the snow, but even in the winter, all bundled up.
Do you
And
though?
I just look at the water or I walk the boardwalk and, it's
Mm.
just so zen when there's no one else there.
Just found your emotional eating outlet.
Yes, there you go. I'll go to the beach. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've discovered that headphones work really well as earmuffs. So if I put headphones on and I listen to a podcast or an audiobook or something, and then I'm entertained and I'm looking at the water and there's no one else
Oh,
there to get in the way of my mojo, I'm
mm.
quite happy about that.
It sounds good to me.
It's not so bad. And I live like 2 miles from the beach here. So there really is not a single excuse in the world.
Mm.
Definitely not. Yeah. Like I had been aware of a lot of this from my own life prior to being a mom.
Hmm.
And I thought that I was being mindful of the things that I said about myself or
Mm.
how I looked in clothes or whatever. I thought that I was being mindful enough where I wasn't passing along any negativity about my body to my daughter. But it turns out that I was wrong
Mm.
and that she unfortunately has the genetic predisposition towards anxiety that I have and that my mom had, etc. And
Mhm.
for her, instead of the emotional eating, she can't eat when she's anxious. And
Mm.
so she goes through periods of time where she just can't eat, that it like her esophagus almost closes so that she can't quite get food down. And, first I took her to a gastroenterologist to make sure there was nothing wrong. And we put her on an acid reducer because she wasn't eating enough and that was making it worse. It was a cyclical thing. But now she's working with professionals to help her figure out when to eat and what to eat and she has it on a calendar.
Mm.
And so she's going to the gym 6 days a week and that has completely
Mm.
changed her
Mm.
whole outlook. Like you said about the physical and the mental, and the anxiety is 20% of what it used to be, and she's doing really really well. But
Mm.
we have to be mindful about these things and what we say
Absolutely.
about our bodies in front of our daughters. Even if we don't think they are
Oh,
hearing.
they are hearing. They are hearing. The little words, the little stuff,
Yeah.
that makes a huge impact. Even gestures, if you ever pinch your stomach, like, oh, I got to get rid of this, or things like that, little gestures. I think we have to really be very neutral right now because
Yeah.
we've been so much the other way. So it's time to just like reel it back in. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was first doing this, I started to say, oh, wow, I look so good. And, like, people weren't used to hearing that.
Hmm.
My kids weren't used to hearing that. I'm like, oh wow, your mama rocks, and now it's like they're kind of used to it. Like if I
Right.
think I look good, I say it. I say
Yeah.
it. And they got used to it. And it's a night I'm happy that they can hear this. I
That's
want
awesome.
them to know that they can feel good about themselves, that they can use language that's positive about themselves because easily they would tell their best friend, oh, you look great.
Oh my God, yeah. I realize that about myself. Like some of the things that I would say in my internal dialogue, I would never say it out loud to myself, but inside my head, I would say all sorts of hateful, disgusting things that in 1,000 years, even if you put a gun to my head, I would never say to another person. And then I was like, I don't know who I was listening to, but why should my talk to myself be any less kind than what I would say to other people?
And
Who
it
do I
bothers
love
me how this
more
even
than,
came into existence, this whole conversation. Like,
right,
that really bothers me. Like, where does it even begin from? And that's the whole diet culture conversation. Like,
right,
we shouldn't even have to have a podcast about this. You
right. I
know?
mean, what is it, like $100 billion industry or something?
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
crazy thing?
Yeah, growing.
It's
But
nuts.
there is good movement out there. Is amazing people more than ever bringing out positive messages, teaching people about a healthy food and body relationship. And I'm really pleased that I really feel good that in the next 10 years is going to be a huge shift.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I do see it. I do see it. I'm really, really excited about
I
that.
look at that, the model Ashley Graham, I look at her Instagram
Mhm.
and she just had a baby and she looks amazing and she's curvy and vivacious and like an Amazon queen. She's gorgeous. And
She
I'm
is.
like, I'm older than her. So if we count for age, my body's just like hers. And I think
Mhm.
she's rocking sexy hot. Oh my God. So I'm like,
Because
why,
the inner confidence.
why can't I,
Yeah.
but the interesting thing is, I don't really sort of know how to explain this because I'll look at myself in the mirror with or without makeup. Pandemic has gotten me used to not wearing any, and I'm fine. I'm just wearing lipstick now. There's nothing else there. And if I get dressed, I buy clothes that I feel good in. And when I'm dressed, I feel great. I
Yeah.
look at myself in the mirror and I feel fabulous. And I'm like, why? I don't know how to explain it. I never although I might say that I'm not thrilled with the way my body's aging or that there were more curves than I would have, quote, wanted, I never attached that to my self worth.
Hmm.
It was different. Yeah, I might want to have had the flat stomach I used to
Hmm.
have. And I might have wanted X, Y, and Z to look like it did 15, 20 years ago. But it never metastasized and took away from my value or self-worth or self-efficacy or took away from the gifts I know I have that I want to share, which I guess is brilliant and fabulous. But I feel like we are specifically addressing the people for whom it has,
Mm.
that their value has nothing to do with their waist size or the size jeans they fit into or don't fit into, or, you know,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with any of that. They're beautiful and worthy and fabulous regardless of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it can really affect someone not wanting to go to parties. You know,
Yeah.
people in my coaching groups that share that with me. They don't want to go out. They
I have
feel,
to lose 20 pounds before my daughter's wedding, like what the hell is that?
yeah, we
Just
all want to,
just go.
feel good. But when we attach too much of it, we put too much pressure on ourselves.
Right.
And I think at that point, we start searching, what can I do quick? What's the quick fix? When we can let ourselves, chill a little bit more and understand that bodies are bodies. And that's something I love about Ashley Graham
Yeah.
because the first time we ever saw cellulite on a,
Right.
everyone has cellulite. Do you know what I mean? I mean, mostly
Yeah.
everyone has, it's normal. But, we grew up that wasn't normal. Everything was airbrushed and photoshopped, and it still is. But there's the few and in between models that we need to look more at and to see what a normal body looks like. And I think that is more powerful than anything.
I mean,
So
even the models themselves don't look like that.
they do not. They do not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy. We've all been sold a bill of goods here.
And you know what,
We
Marcy?
should be pissed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mad isn't the word. Angry, angry. But right now I settled a bit because now I feel like I'm actually doing something.
Yes, you are definitely doing something about it.
Yeah, I'm feeling I'm doing something about it. But when I first learned this, angry, and I wrote that in my book, how I was so upset. I'm like, I was sold a bill of lies. And
Hmm.
right now I'm in the space that I'm only looking at models like Ashley Graham and people like her. But I do know that there's a whole nother world out there that is saying just the opposite and messages of just the opposite. And it's really challenging to take your eye off of like how wrong that is. But little by little, step by step, every conversation we have about it, it's healing. And that's why it's permission to heal. We are healing.
Absolutely. We have to give ourselves permission to love our bodies and feel comfortable in them, to
Absolutely.
respect them for the things that they allow us to do and feel and be. And
And even how you said how you were sharing about beginning with diets and almost practicing bulimia,
right.
practice of that. And that even leads into cosmetic surgery and dangerous, expensive surgery, and
Yeah.
cutting off body parts. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Thighs and butts and stomach and tummy tucks. And I hold no judgment for anyone who decides that that's what they would like to do, 100%. But just the idea that that is a practice that we do. Just
Right.
that fact alone is enough to say, wait, what's up here? Why are women doing that?
I mean, I have a friend of mine who I teach with who was born with a relatively flat chest. She has very small breasts. She's a petite woman,
Mhm.
that wasn't what she wanted. So she went and she had breast implants. And they were the saline kind. They weren't, silicone or whatever. But so she had them in. She loved the way they looked. And very slowly, her entire physical and mental health shifted.
Oh, wow.
And she became anxious and she became critical and she became so different mentally that it killed her marriage and she wound up getting divorced.
My goodness.
She just started to see things completely differently. Her body developed an autoimmune disorder and she had inflammation and she gained all this weight and there wasn't anything she could do about it and she was going from doctor to doctor to doctor trying to figure out what was going on and nobody could figure out what was going on and they were all telling her it was in her head and it was all psychosomatic and she was crazy and there was nothing wrong with her. And I'm not sure what the last piece of the puzzle was that showed her that it was her breast implants. I don't remember that little piece of the story,
So powerful.
but she took the breast implants out, and within a month, sorry, everything started to go back to normal. She lost the weight, it just fell off of her. The inflammation went down. Her head was clear for the first time. She didn't realize how mentally foggy she was, how she was having difficult being logical, and um, everything changed. And she started to repair her relationship with her ex husband and with her friends and with herself. And I'm trying to get her on this podcast to talk about this story, but she's a little shy
Oh,
about telling the whole thing. But it
you
was all because of
in my book.
stupid implants. Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll connect us.
I will. I mean, she's amazing and the way she tells the story. And I actually hooked her up with the dietitian that I was seeing, and she fixed the rest of the components of that through the care of a dietitian.
My
But
jaw from this story.
it negatively affected every single system in her entire body, just having these boob implants in. And almost the minute she got rid of them, it was like leaching toxicity into her whole endocrine system or something, and that affects everything.
Thing. And even the fact that women are thinking about it, I was looking at a statistic that said 60% of women are thinking about it. Like it's in our consciousness. It's something that, like, what if I did this? What if I could do that? And it seems so appealing and accessible right now. There's plastic surgeons everywhere. And it seems like everybody's doing it. So you kind of get sucked into it. I have my own story that one of my friends was like, oh, Sarah, you got to go fix your boobs. No, you you got to go fix. This was
What bras are for.
yeah, exactly. This is about 15 years ago, and I remember going to the doctor's office with her. She took me, and I felt like an object. It didn't feel right to me. Didn't sit right. Again, no judgment to anyone who
It
decides.
just wasn't right for you.
It didn't feel right, and I'm looking back, and I'm like, I am so glad I made that decision. But like you're saying, so many people, even though it doesn't feel right, they do it anyway because the look is just so important. So again, it goes back to calming down on what's the physical outlook of us and honing back into our spirituality, to our insights, to our mental health, to our emotional health. And always we would love to show the world's, a physically beautiful essence if we feel that beautiful essence from the inside. It
Right.
can never be shown strictly from the outside.
Right. If we're not at peace with ourselves inside, no matter how much we work on the outside, it's never going to
Never. So
match.
here we go. We're getting back into our exercise for joyful movement, for feeling good, for helping our emotions, tapping into our intuitive eating. It's a beautiful, healthy lifestyle as we continue this process, taking out the negativity, putting in more positive outlook on ourselves. Listen, our world is, we go through our world with our body and we're eating every single day. So it's two things
We
that
have to.
we need to get back in check with.
Totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is huge. This is everything, you know. There are some times in my life where I guess I get so focused on things that I'm doing, like task oriented. Like when I was writing my book, I was so in my own head that I felt like my body was like a car in a way, that it was just the vehicle through which my brain interacts with the world. I was completely separated from my body, and it's totally not healthy to be that way.
I understand that, because when you're the type of person who wants to get things done and something accomplished, it's like
Right.
boom,
Well, I
just
was
sitting.
writing my book, and like sometimes I would sit down to write for an hour and I would be there for 9 hours. And my husband had gone to sleep, my daughter had gone to sleep, and I realized, oh my God, it's like 4 a.m. I've been up all night writing, and it's just like
But isn't that
flowing out of me.
so in your zone?
So in my zone. I mean, I wrote 125,000 words in 6 weeks.
Okay, you're egging me on. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm still in my first chapter, so you're making me really happy.
Well, I mean, that was just the first draft. I then had the painstaking, I had to go through my editor, and then the painstaking second draft, which was more torturous to write than the first because I had to dig deeper. And, you know, it was a memoir. So it was literally,
What's the title of your book?
it's called Permission to Land, Searching for Love, Home, and Belonging.
Oh, I love it. Can you give me a little bit about it?
Sure. This is your podcast, but sure. I was here's a picture of it. It's
I
the
feel like
actual
we're
book
just friends
itself.
talking. I'm not realizing we're on a podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. And so anyway, so it's a memoir of my life story. Um, I was an emotionally abused child, and I didn't know that I was because it was just all that I knew. My mom was an undiagnosed bipolar with a narcissistic tendency, and later a drug addict. She was addicted to opiates, and my relationship with her taught me to not trust myself and to be a people pleaser because I always wanted to make her happy. Because when she was in Mary Poppins mode, I had a happier life. And when she turned into Cruella de Vil, which is the opposite side of what I called her bipolarity, my life sucked. And my dad worked, you know, like 99 jobs to try to keep a roof over our heads. And my mom, you know, she was like the center of my life. And even from a very young age, I felt like I was the only adult parenting me because she was just so difficult to manage. And it completely affected all of the choices I made, my relationships with my friends, my relationships with my coworkers and my bosses, and my relationships with men. And it wasn't until January of 2011, when my kids and I were dealing with her in her most belligerent state, that I finally just said enough. And I cut her out of my life, and I cut her out of my kid's life. And the moment that I stopped being the dutiful daughter, I became the mother that I needed to be. And it was that moment that I began the story. And 18 months later, she died of the effects of drug addiction. And so what I did was I went back through 35 years of my journals, and I used them as primary source documents and basically traced this mental illness of mine, this people pleasing anxiety thing. I traced its roots from my childhood all the way forward through my life to figure out how this happened the way it happened and how do I undo it. And so that's the story. And I figured out how to heal myself and give myself permission to be the mom that I needed to be and to be the Marcy I needed to be. And that I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to go do anything I felt like freaking doing on this God's green earth. And I wound up finding love within myself and finding a wonderful partner in my husband Michael, and my kids, how to raise them to be happier. And it was so I'm sharing my whole entire story, good, bad, and the ugly, to try to give other people hope that if their lives were screwed up as mine or worse, they have the power to fix it. And because journal writing was such a big part of this, I wrote a companion journal called Personal Transformation Through Writing, where I literally went through all of the questions that I asked myself in over 100 pages of guided writing prompts so that another person could recreate this analysis, this long look back, as I put it, for themselves. So that's where this whole permission to heal thing was born. Because while I was trying to build a community support my book, I started a Facebook group called Permission to Heal, Safe to Fly. And then I was trying to figure out, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted to do yet. We were talking about this before. I was trying to figure out what this podcast thing is, because I couldn't figure out how to do the rest of this. And then Permission to Heal was born. So it seemed really haphazard and like I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But looking back, all the pieces were being put into place along the way they had to. And so now here we are, and it's February 21, and I'm making it happen. So
You sure are. Congratulations.
thanks.
Really, wow. That was a very powerful story. You just like, I was just like glued into you. Like I
It
was,
was a lean in moment, as Chris and Jen would say. Yeah,
I am telling you, you just drew me in with that. Well, I'm excited to read it. Thank you for writing it.
sure. Thank you. I just, I needed to say it. It was a very cathartic process for me. And I figured out a whole lot of stuff along the way. I thought I had figured out, but I really figured it out. And it healed my relationship with my dad, which I think is pretty amazing because he's 81. And that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Mm.
It's not true. They
While
have to be willing to learn the new tricks.
while you were writing, did you feel like, oh, I'm going to be so judged upon this, or you just like let it out and that
No, I didn't really care.
didn't
I,
care?
I knew people would be like, how could you say that? Like, because I mean, I'm literally naked in this book, metaphor. Well,
Those are the best books.
metaphorically.
Those are the books that people want to read because people see themselves in it. Because we all
Yeah.
will, we'll have,
I
we
mean,
all
I
have.
talk about all the failed relationships I had, all the boyfriends I went through as a young person and as a mid 40s person after my divorce. And I mean, you learn about when I lost my virginity, like everything is in this book.
This book sounds over the top. Where
Everything
am
is
I
in
getting
this
it
book.
from?
What?
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I was just like, you have to let me know how you like it. I mean, so far I've gotten great reviews and I've been sharing pieces of it all over the place. So
Beautiful.
I don't know, it was cathartic for me and it healed my relationship with my dad because we were able to open up conversations about things that I'd been carrying around since the 80s that he didn't know I was carrying around. And we talked in ways that we hadn't talked in a ever really. And it was not easy conversations. We were both crying and there
Mm.
was a couple of weeks of silence between us as we sort of processed what we had said. And there were things that I just have to let go because they can't be undone. And he's apologized and I've apologized. And we have to just let it go and move forward. But in so many ways, I feel like the adult 50-something-year-old Marcy has gone back and comfort hugged the younger Marcy to make her feel better and tell her that it isn't always as bad as it was, and that it will get better, and it does get better, and that she is the one who's going to make it better. And
Powerful.
uh,
So powerful.
yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
I, you know, I I don't think any of us are so good at taking compliments. Like, what do you say?
I know, but just the way your story is brought out, I know when I was writing my course, I had that feeling of like letting things come out. Like, 'cause with my course, there was always a personal story involved in it.
Sure.
There's something about writing it and getting it out. You're almost doing it for yourself, and then you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
oh yeah, this is great for other people too. But there's something about it, getting it out on paper. It,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I make connections along the way with pop culture with movies and music and books that I've read, and what characters and things that have inspired me that changed my outlook on stuff. And I mean, I'm an English teacher, so of course this stuff's going to be connected. But it was cathartic and liberating, and I am not squeamish about the fact that people on 4 continents now know very intimate details about me, like it,
You know
it
what?
is it is what it is.
It is what it is. It humanizes us. We're all human and we go through our stuff and we learn and we grow, we share, and then we teach somebody else so they could be protected and the story is
Exactly.
ongoing.
And if
And
I had to go through all of that crap and cry those gallons of tears, if I can shorten someone else's anguish, I don't know, shorten someone else's healing journey and get them through to the light a little faster with a few fewer tears, then it's all worth it to me. So.
absolutely. Ah,
So, in the beginning of the interviews, I normally do the 6 quick questions, but you and I just got into it so quickly and I completely forgot about them. So, we're going to do them now.
let's go.
Okay. So, what 5 words would you use to describe yourself?
Oh, wow, fun. Energetic,
Oh, God, yes.
compassionate,
Uh-huh.
loving,
Of course.
purposeful,
Definitely.
caring.
Wow. Yeah, I but probably would have picked the same words for you.
Did I do six?
I I don't know.
I'm
I
teasing.
think 5, whatever. It's supposed to be 5. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh, good.
It doesn't matter. We can do what we want. It's my podcast.
That's amazing.
I don't have to ask anyone else's permission. What's your favorite way to spend a day?
Oh, at home, in front of the fireplace, writing, journaling, self-care, hot bath. Feels good to me.
Sounds heavenly. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, wow. Hmm. Childhood memory. That goes back now. I'm going to think about this one.
Okay.
Hmm.
It's a hard
It's
one for me too. I
a hard
can't.
one for me too. Childhood is just such a funny thing. As a very introspective type of person, I think we all grow up to be that way. We look back and we're like, "Oh, what could we have done better? What could we have changed? How could we have fixed?" But I have to say that times spent in a relaxed way, not really going anywhere crazy or doing anything, sitting with family in a chilled environment
Mhm.
around the den. I remember sitting and watching the Olympics with my dad. That was always a very fond memory. I look back at that time. Or him watering the garden. I'm talking about like
Sure.
little stuff like that. Remember the day when we used to hose the garden?
Sure.
My
Yeah, no
dad,
one had automatic sprinklers. Of course, you had to go out there by hand.
and it was like my favorite time to be with him. So I'm going to choose that.
Okay. I think for me, I think my favorite thing has always been holiday dinners with the extended family, whether it's Passover or Thanksgiving.
Mm,
Passover's my favorite. Thanksgiving's my second favorite. I just love people sitting around and eating and chatting and talking about all sorts of stuff. And the ritual of a Passover Seder, I find so grounding and so connective. And I almost like feel thousands of years of Jews reaching forward in time, dancing the hora at weddings. I get the same feeling, like just the connectivity through tradition to me is everything.
I love that. I love that. I guess sometimes I feel like I do that so much and wrote that I'm not appreciating enough. So the way you said that, it was like, yeah, Passover's coming. And
Yeah,
just on a quick note, because I know we can't stop talking, but the last Purim we had was the last day our family was together in entirety because it
you're
was
right.
my house and it was March 13th and then pandemic hit. So we're
Sure.
all like looking forward, hopefully, let's see, for this Purim coming up soon, and let's see
I
what
think it's
happens.
too soon.
I think it's soon. I know, but we were all just saying that year to year, but as you're saying that, it's bringing me alive thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, we did Passover Seder via Zoom last year, and I think we're going to wind up doing it again that way too.
oh, okay, we'll do it. We're
Good.
resilient. We'll
It
do
was
it.
actually fine. We didn't have any traveling. Nobody was sitting in traffic.
No big cleanup.
No big cleanup because I was only feeding the 4 or 5 people in my
Yeah,
house. I wasn't feeding 25
yeah,
people. We could make a few matzo balls. We didn't need 5 dozen, like it's
yes.
okay.
Taking the positive,
It
100%.
was a little more doable.
100%.
I made a small brisket, not a huge one.
Yeah.
So it goes. Speaking of brisket, what's your favorite meal?
Oh, I love so much. I love yogurt and granola and berries. I love that. Oh, right now I eat so many different types of food. Today I made the funniest meal. I made tuna fish with granola, cranberries, and almonds.
Why is that funny?
I thought it was the funniest thing because I went into my fridge and I'm like, oh, I see tuna already made from yesterday. And then I went in and I made this whole concoction. I'm like, this is really great. So I don't know. I just
Yeah,
eat everything.
I might substitute out red grapes for the cranberries
Good idea.
because
Great idea.
I've had this insatiable craving lately for red grapes. I can't seem to get enough of them. The
Hmm.
sugar and the moisture, I think I'm slightly dehydrated and
Yum.
I just love them. I
Yeah.
buy them constantly. Okay. What one piece of advice would you give your younger self? I think I could predict this.
Oh, younger self, I would just say go for it. Believe in yourself. Don't stop. Keep going. Believe in your superpowers. Believe in yourself. That's exactly what I would say.
Beautiful. 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 What is one thing you would most like to change about the world?
Oh, pretty much love. I want to see the world loving each other again. I think it's very sad. We're not in a loving world, and I miss being in one. I want the world to love each other. I want to be at peace. I feel like someone in college, giving their graduation speech, but
Yeah,
really that love and peace for all people to
it's
bond.
too divisive right now.
It hurts. It hurts. It's sad. I want the world to love each other. That's really what I want.
Sounds good to me. Uh, Sorry for president. I actually wouldn't wish that job on anybody.
No, definitely not.
It's definitely not something I would ever want. But I, at the same time, think that the person who doesn't want the job is the person who should have the job. Because
Probably
you're not going to be working your whole time to keep the job. You're just going to be doing it.
doing it. Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, I'm so pleased, so thrilled that you were here. This was such a wonderful conversation. I'd been looking forward to this for weeks, and it actually was better than I imagined it. And I have a good imagination.
Oh, Marcy, you're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I adore you.
Oh, I
You're
adore you too. Your energy is so wonderful.
Yeah, we could just sit here forever. And I can't wait for I don't know, we spoke about this before the podcast, for our,
Yeah.
in-house meeting.
Yeah. The post pandemic, when we can
Yeah,
see each other in 3D, we'll get Aura Martinez and we'll hang out.
exactly. I'm in.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. This has been such a wonderful episode. I really appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Marcy.